Okay, cool. So I look like a politician, literally. But yeah, this is gonna be a really cool video. So this is how I went from a broke artist to a six-figure entrepreneur in less than 24 months. I want to share my story with you and my journey because I believe it's really dynamic and it's a fucking roller coaster of careers, industries, emotions, obviously. And I'm going to extract some lessons from this entire journey and essentially give them to you so that you can take and apply this to whatever you're building, whether you're growing a personal brands, an online education business, or even if you're in SaaS, it doesn't matter. These lessons, some of them you can take and apply, and hopefully you're going to enjoy my yapping session. So I'm kind of gonna time it right now just to make sure I don't speak for like 2 hours. But let's kind of get into it. So if you're new here, first of all, I have a consulting business and I'm helping experts and creators scale their personal brands and their mentorship offers. Now, how I got here was super, I don't want to say weird, but it's definitely been a crazy journey. Because before business, and everyone that knows me knows this was such a big thing for me to like, because I kind of like stayed away from making videos about it. So I'm glad I finally do that now. But before business, I used to be a recording artist. So I used to make music. Essentially, I was doing like rap music combined with like dark R&B, blues, stuff like that. So I was writing my own lyrics. I was essentially putting out albums, doing shows, and in my entire life up until 2022 was just about making it in the music industry and in the music business. I fell in love with music when I was in around, I want to say fifth grades. I started to write like really cringy lyrics, and music was it became my entire life. In eighth grade, I literally invested all of the pocket change that I had at the time in some music gear, and I got a mic and stuff like that to record. And in high school, everyone was in the beginning making fun of me because the music was kind of shit. I'm not gonna lie, but then I started to take it more and more seriously. I got into college, and then I dropped out to fully pursue music. And I was in the studio every night, essentially building my both like just the artist name, but also building my style and finding my voice, and essentially just making a shitload of songs and projects, putting them out, getting feedback, going back to the drawing board, and just going through that whole process. So that was my entire life up until 2022. And in 2018, yeah, it was in 2018, I dropped out of college. I fully went into music. In 2019, I was still like at the time I started with to just make money online with graphic design and branding, and I was just like heavily underpaid. Like I remember my first fucking logo was like for like $7, but this was years ago. So this was like 10 years ago, something like that, which is crazy to think about. But then besides that, I was essentially selling beats and like producing for other people. So that's how I was making the money on the side. I dropped out of college because I didn't see the just the value in it, and fully pursued music. Now, in 2019, I made the decision to move to the UK. So I moved from Romania to the UK. I lived in Wales in a bunch of weird places. But shout out Cardiff. So if anyone is, you're probably not, but like if anyone is watching this from Cardiff, I love Cardiff. I lived there for like 4 months. Amazing city. So I lived there and I moved there to essentially make some money at the time and invested into a studio and just launch more and more projects and just crack the surface with like the music stuff. Now, after I came back from the UK to Romania, I fully went again into the artist mode, like in heavily investing a bunch of money in music videos and projects and stuff like that. And it was getting to a point where the music was really good. Everything was super professional. I started to get in contact with a bunch of people from the music industry. They started to recognize me, stuff like that. And it was going well on the outside, but within, I kind of felt this misalignment in terms of the music industry at the time. I was looking around and I was like, you know what? This is not the environment that I want to be in. This is not the place that would allow me, in the industry that would allow me to fully be myself, because I knew from the very beginning, like I knew I was not made to, first of all, like slave away. As an artist, I can talk about this for hours because I used to be in the industry. It's like you are a slave to, if you're, I used to be an independent artist, but I was still a slave to a degree to the whole hustle, right? The whole grind of making music, trying to, you know, make connections with people. And I was never that guy that could like buddy with like everyone. Like I was never able to fake it. And it's basically the whole, that entire journey to me led to that point where I realized, like, you know what, this environment is not it, this industry is not it. The music was amazing, like, if I say so myself, like, and the whole feedback that I was getting, it was the best it had ever been. I even had a blues like album that I made with this, what was it, like, I think it was a producer from Bristol, I want to say, or something like that. Like, it was wild. Like the production, it was crazy. So I was heavily investing in projects, but I at the same time realizing that, this might not be the environment for me. This might not be the industry for me. So if I keep pursuing this, I'm not going to feel aligned with what I'm doing. And so I made the decision in 2022 to completely stop all of that, stop the music, and just essentially quit cold turkey. And everybody, every single, and including obviously like my parents, they were like, dude, like, what the fuck are you doing? Because this is like, mind you, that was my life, right? Imagine from being a kid almost in like fifth grade, sixth grade, to all the way to being like now 23 or whatever, just saying, you know what, I quit. And trust me, it was the easiest choice I've ever made in my life, because I knew that wasn't the entire story for me. That was just literally a chapter in the book that was over. And now it was time, at the time, it was time for me to take all of the things that I learned, the lessons, the creativity, and transition that and put that into business, which I did. So after, in 2022, after I quit, I was literally, well, now I got to do something, right? I got to, and by the way, like for the longest time in music, I kind of felt trapped in a sense of, as an artist, you cannot fully be yourself, right? And I know some people might say, oh, what do you mean? Like, just be yourself and do. But like, no, as an artist, you fucking have like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, what, in a song to share whatever you're going through. Or like, it's not like this where you could just like turn on the camera and just literally talk. So as an artist, I still felt that the sort of the needs to package everything that I was saying and the message in an artistic way, because this is like what you got to do as an artist, right? And that's in turn, across this timeline of a couple of years, it made me feel like, you know what, like, I have this business idea, but I cannot really do it because I'm an artist and I only do this. So it made me feel trapped. And I guess this was a huge factor as well, in terms of my identity being trapped in that and being locked to that, which I never wanted. So regardless of what I'm doing, I don't want to say that I'm fully, like, 1000% I'm a content creator, because there are other parts of me that, like, I'm obviously a content creator, but what I want to say is I'm not completely 1000% defined by making content, if that makes sense. So it was the same with music, and usually people do this, they attach their identity to whatever the career it is. And I made the decision again to stop. And then I started 3 businesses. So first I started a creative agency, because my background again was in branding. I knew stuff about design. I knew stuff about like creating websites, making landing pages, even like designing funnels. And I used those skills to essentially make money. Now, the issue with the creative agency was I just didn't like the business model. I didn't like chasing clients. I didn't like working with clients that, would only pay me a couple of hundreds or thousands, and they wouldn't really understand the value of what I'm delivering, and clients that, whatever, like, they didn't really. So I just hated that business model. Let's put it that way. Now, after that, I built a SaaS company, which was like with one of my best friends. We partnered up and we basically built this SaaS platform from scratch for guitar courses. We're like some developers. It was absolutely wild. We started to take off on social media, brought in traffic, and that's when I truly realized the power of social media. Because as an artist, I was like, no, I'm just gonna put out songs and not do any content. But with this, I started to realize like, oh shit, like you can actually create content and funnel all of that attention into the business, which was beautiful. And then after this, or rather at the same sort of time, in the same sort of timeline, this was across 12 months after me quitting music, which is wild to think about. I actually started in ecom as well. So I started a store which flopped, and then the second store which took off and I scaled to six figures. And the the biggest thing that I learned throughout that transition is this idea of you have to allow yourself to step into a different sort of role, step into a different sort of identity, and just see what's out there, right? Just allow yourself to make an agency and test, see if that is for you or not. And that is how, in a span of just 12 months, I tested all of these different businesses and I made a lot of money with, especially the ecom store, because I allow myself to take a risk. I allow myself to step out of my like own shell and just go out there and test all of these different things. Now, the biggest thing with this was that I was still in that place of, yes, I was making money, but first of all, I got in debt because I was keep on investing. Like I got in debt and I was overwhelmed because managing like three businesses at once across three different industries and dealing with all of the chaos from each of these businesses was like, it was rough. Like I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. And I got to one point, I'm always telling the story, when this was in, I want to say October 2023 or something like that. I got invited to this business event in Dubai, and I was there in my hotel room. I was there for like, my flight actually got canceled. So the first time I went there, my flight literally got canceled mid-flight. So the captain was like, we got to turn back. We don't have permission to land. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like everyone from the plane is like, whatever. So we got the flight canceled mid-flight. We had to literally fly back, and then I flew in the next day. And long story short, I was a mess. I couldn't sleep. I think I was sick as well. The business event was awesome, but like I was just like not in a really awesome place. And that night in that hotel room, it was me by myself, not being able to enjoy the city, not being able to enjoy anything. I literally had a mental breakdown, and I think I hit rock bottom at that point. I'm positive I did, because I told myself like, enough is enough. Like I cannot handle this sort of like stress and chaos anymore. Like trying to deal with all of these different like, you know, chaotic things essentially, and trying to manage everything. And I felt like literally like a business owner that had no direction. I was the shiny object syndrome king. I was that guy that was like, oh, let me try this business, that business, and I was essentially spreading myself too thin. So I told myself, you know what, like that's it. When I'm back after this event, I have to start creating content, because I had felt for the longest time, and it happened with music, obviously, like I felt like, you know what, like I'm definitely like a person that I've been through so many things, and I did I was in so many different industries, and I was almost like a chameleon. I don't know why I'm doing this. Is the chameleon doing this? I was almost like a chameleon, just in all across these different industries, learning so much and shifting my identity so much, to the point where I knew I have a whole lot of things to share. But I just didn't have the courage, and I wasted years. Like I didn't know, like as an artist, I didn't know what kind of content I should make. And mind you, we're not like a couple of years ago, TikTok wasn't that hot. Talking about 2017, 18, like TikTok wasn't, I think it wasn't that hot, right? So I was still very like much in my heads with content, but after that mental breakdown, I essentially told myself, you know what, this is it. I'm gonna stop this chaos, and I'm gonna grow my personal brand. I'm gonna start creating content. I'm literally gonna take everything that I learned throughout my businesses and just talk about it and hopefully help others. Now, when I transition into that, that's when it literally felt like for the very first time, I'm stepping into who I really am. And much like an artist who's trying to find his voice, the journey to find my voice as myself, and I know like when I'm doing this it's weird, but like as a person, like when you're growing your personal brand in the very beginning, especially when you've never done that at scale, you tend to overthink everything, when in reality it's not about strategy, it's not about like what's the best hook to post, whatever. It's about you getting closer and closer and closer to that authentic version of yourself. So that was my journey from the very beginning. Now with the personal brands, I posted, I think, 3 months until the content just completely popped off on Instagram. I went viral with one video. I went from 200 followers to 10,000. And this was back in last year, I want to say February or March or something like that. That's when it started to bubble up. And then the rest is history. And now, in such a short time frame, because I had prior experience, I literally went from just trying to worry about a couple of videos here and there to now like working with clients, helping them scale offers and helping them build amazing brands. The personal brand literally changed my entire life. So the biggest lesson that I'm here to help you with is this: no matter what business you're in, whether it's SaaS or a creative agency or e-com or crypto or whatever, no matter what business you're in, if you have a personal brand, and this is what I'm telling my clients, if you have a personal brand, that's becoming almost like your core. And then from that, you can literally spawn thousands of businesses, because it becomes, you become the core and the center of this sort of universe and ecosystem, because that's what it really is. It's an ecosystem. It's a business ecosystem. And then from that, you can spawn a clothing brand. You can spawn whatever, like a software company. You can spawn whatever you want, because when you have the personal brand, you have leverage. When you're just a business owner, even, trust me, I know guys with like 50K a month offers, whatever, for their agencies. They do not have leverage, and they still have to keep on like chasing clients. They have to, because why? Because they haven't built an ecosystem. They haven't built content that essentially provides value and helps others. Everything that they're doing is to just collect money, is to talk to clients and get money, talk to clients and get money. And that's obviously business. You have to do that. But the secret thing with, and the amazing thing with the personal brand is that it allows you to create your entire ecosystem in your own world, to the point where clients come to you. That's the magic in this. Clients, opportunities come to you. I just recently, like a couple of hours ago, actually, I had a call with this sort of like, not agency, but it's this community type of thing from Toronto, like inviting me to events and stuff for founders. So it's stuff like that where you literally get random opportunities. I'm not even talking about clients coming to you, just random opportunities like that. Me and my team, we got invited and we flew to Dubai. This was in December 2024, so last year, for this event, all because of my personal brand. Because the executive there was like, you know what, you're doing amazing content. We want to have you here. Here are tickets for everything. So that's the magic in this. When I used to be, so this whole, first of all, this whole journey and roller coaster is so wild to me, even now, because the thing that I had to do at every step of the way, and this is what I want to highlight as well, is like I allow myself to change and shift my identity completely, going from a broke college kid to then a semi-broke music artist, performing, writing songs, creating albums, creating, going from even that in and of itself, that sort of universe, like going from a rap album to going to an R&B album and blues album, even that, like giving myself the chance to reinvent myself, reinvent my mind, and being a chameleon. That is a superpower. That is a fucking superpower, especially now with AI, because it's coming, it's here to stay. Okay, it's wild what's happening. The more you can transform yourself and adapt and just become a chameleon across multiple different industries and just go in and just master something and then evolve, is like, that is a superpower. And that transition for me from like being an artist to then being an entrepreneur was so seamless, because I didn't treat business like just some numbers. I literally treated business as, the art form. Like this is now my outlet. And no matter what I'm creating, no matter what business I'm in, I want to make sure I create my own world here now. I might not be making music anymore, but the same sort of principles stand, right? The same sort of principles stand, as in, especially with content, giving yourself the permission to create your own sort of universe, giving yourself the permission to create your identity, your premium identity, stepping into that version of yourself that is able to create all of this. And most importantly, having fun with what you're making and being like a kid, giving yourself the space and the grace to create what truly resonates with your soul. Because when you do that, the business model and strategy doesn't really fucking matter. What matters is you're creating something that is literally speaking to your soul, and then inevitably that's going to attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right clients. So we're about 20 minutes in and we're good. But I just want to highlight the fact that, again, most people stay stuck. Most people, they can never escape. And escape is the good word for this. They can never really escape their industry, because their identity is so directly attached to that particular industry. All they are, for example, those people where like you ask them like, hey, like, can you present yourself or whatever? And they're like, yeah, I'm a doctor. Like that's their entire identity, their entire being. And for most people, a career change like that is so scary that sometimes it's just impossible. And they end up staying in the same career for 30 years, 40 years, and that's it. But look, I'm not telling you like I stopped making music because everything was so awesome. I stopped making music because I realized the music wasn't the issue. What the issue was at the time was the music industry and the environment. Because no matter what industry you're in, you have to look at what is the most successful person in that industry and what did they have to go through to get there, and what is their lifestyle. Do I want to live like them? Because that's essentially your reference point. Your reference point always has to be the top people in that industry, in whatever industry you're in. So if you're a lawyer right now, look at the top lawyers in your country. How are they living? Do you want to live like them? If yes, awesome. If not, you got to really evaluate, are my values aligned with the things that I'm doing right now? And for most people, unfortunately, the answer is no. They sell literally their soul to try and fit an industry, or try to like do things the way they think everyone else wants them to do it. And they essentially compromise themselves to the point where in that process, they lose who they fucking are. And I knew I didn't want to go there. Like as an artist, I didn't want to get to that point where I don't know who I am anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to sell my soul. I didn't want to get signed. I knew for a fact I didn't want to fucking hang out with a bunch of hippies that are just like drugged out of their minds and they're abusing substances and stuff like that. I knew that there was more for me. And again, that decision was super easy. It was literally, we're just closing the chapter and we're moving on. Okay, we're moving on. And this new Andre is completely different. This new Andre is just Andre like 2.0. And let me tell you this, because this is literally how I got the name for my brand and my company, Unlock Creators, and also my Instagram name, which is Andre Unlocked. So I had this personal profile on Instagram after I quit music and I went into business. I literally changed it to Andre 2.0 because it was this idea of like, it's the 2.0 version of me, whatever. And then when I wanted to build a personal brand and like my profile for that, I started from scratch. And then that's how I got the idea. I was like, okay, should I do 3.0? And I was like, nah, that doesn't really work. And so I literally went with Andre Unlocked. And that immediately, pun intended, unlocked in my brain the name for the actual company. Now, obviously, in the very, very, very early stages of me creating content, I didn't know exactly like all of the steps in the roadmap of like what exactly am I going to create, what is going to be my offer, what is going to be my company, like who am I going to help. I didn't know every single thing, but that's the thing. When you're genuinely trying to operate from alignment and you're trying to get closer to that authentic version of yourself and what is it that you're trying to do, that's when, I swear, that's when the fucking magic happens. And that's why the most insane shit is starting to happen without you even like understanding why, without like understanding how these opportunities are coming to fruition. And you start to see, if you trace it back, right? If I trace back these 3 years or 4 years, my life is literally like a fucking movie. It's like I'm James Bond and I'm infiltrating. I've infiltrated the music industry, then I've infiltrated the agency space, then all of these, I master some things, I took the lessons, and now I'm obviously building the personal brand. And it's amazing. I just want to drink some smoothie because I'm so thirsty right now, but it's a green antioxidant, really good. Yeah. So hopefully this made sense. It's like 29 minutes, something like that. But again, I'm going to end with this. No matter the industry that you're in, no matter what content you're creating, no matter what brand you're trying to build, give yourself permission to experiment and not get stuck and not put yourself in a box. Not label yourself as, oh, I'm that guy that just does this. You have to transcend whatever industry you're in. And the biggest thing, and I'm going to make a separate video about this with like the lessons that I learned from being an artist and the things that I've applied from being an artist now to personal branding. But the biggest thing is you have to allow yourself to create whatever you want to create. Go against the wave. Go against the wave. Be that market, be that disruptor in the market. Be that trendsetter. Have the desire to genuinely create your own sort of lane. And obviously learn from people. Learn. You don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. Get mentorship, for example. You can message me if you need help with building your personal brand, your business. You don't have to completely learn everything from scratch and just do it all like in a really brilliant new way that has never been seen before. No, but you can still come with your unique thing. And that's the thing. When you approach it from a really authentic place, your entire story will shine and the right people are gonna connect. And so hopefully this made sense. I'm gonna see you in the next video. This was really cool. This was I should do a bunch of like story time videos because they're really cool. So I'm gonna see you in the next one.